Hello BookTube and welcome to another video. Today I am filming for you my June wrap up and my July TBR. I was able to read 7 books this month, and that's not as much as I wanted to read because it's summer, but I just started a new job and I've been trying to figure out everything with college, so I completely understand why I was not able to read as much as I wanted to. But I did read some pretty great books, and I don't think there was a book in the whole month that I didn't like. We will just get started with the books that I read this month. The first book I read this month was We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This book was one that I had had my eyes on for a long time, but I didn't really think that I was going to read it until the librarians at my school library started talking about it, and then they gave it to me as a departing gift. And one of the librarians was reading it at the time, and she was like, "Whoa, Gabby, you need to read this." So I decided that I would read it right away, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I read this book. I did not know what it was about at all, and I think that was probably one of the best decisions that I had ever made. And I think that if you are going to read this book, don't try and figure out what it's about, because it needs to be a surprise. And I really like this book a lot. As you can see, there are a whole bunch of stickies that I put in there. I hope that you can see them. I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It took me a while to get into it, but after I was in, I was hooked. It was good. Then I read The Swift Boys and Me by Cody Keplinger. This is Cody Keplinger's new middle grade book. And I was so nervous because I love everything Cody Keplinger. Her books are probably some of my favorite that I've ever read, and I wasn't sure if she would be able to do it with middle grade, but guess what? She did it with middle grade. This book is about a little girl, and her name is, I believe, Nola, and she lives next to these boys, 3 boys, and they are the Swift Boys, and she's lived next to them their whole lives. But then one day she witnesses their father leaving in the middle of the night, and he doesn't come back, and it's just about her relationship with the boys, how it changes that now that their father is gone. And it's so good. I read it really, really quickly, and I just could not put it down. I loved it, and I love the characters. I was really surprised that Cody Keplinger was able to put as much spirit and as much gusto into a younger character as she does with her older characters. And it wasn't so much as that these characters were tackling, social issues or things that happen with teenagers, but they were capturing things that happen with little kids, and I was identifying with things that have happened in my life that Nola and the Swift Boys were going through, and I really, really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I would definitely give it a try if you were being apprehensive. The next book that I read is Pawn by Amy Carter, and I got this from the Harlequin Teen panel for review, and when I got this book, I kind of just sulked a little bit because I did not want to read this at all. I didn't really like what it was about, and I didn't really like anything that had to do with it, but I pushed through it, and I'm really glad that I did. This book is about a girl named Kitty, and they live in this kind of dystopian type world where at the age of 17 everyone takes a test, and they get given a number between 1 and 7, 7 being the royalty and everything, and 1 being the worst of the worst. And everyone really shoots to be I believe a 4 or a 5, I can't remember. Kitty takes her test and she gets a 3, and she really is not happy with that because 3s don't really get that much in her life. But then she's given the offer of being a higher number if she was to surgically transformed into the Prime Minister's niece because she recently died. So that was a really confusing synopsis, but it's a confusing synopsis even on the front flap. But I went into this book thinking that I was going to hate it, and I actually really enjoyed this. It was fast-paced. I really enjoyed Kitty as a character. Sometimes it was hard to connect to her, but I really did enjoy the way that she would react to certain things. I gave it a 3.75 out of 5 stars, and I do think that I will be picking up the sequel when it comes out in November. Then I read the second book in the Across the Universe trilogy called A Million Suns by Beth Revis. I read the first book at the beginning of last year and I really enjoyed it, and I picked up this one kind of a little apprehensive because I enjoyed the first book so much and I wasn't sure if the second book would have been as great. And I'm happy to say that I did enjoy this book. Not as much as the first one, though. I felt like this one was dragging on a little bit, and there was a lot of mystery, and if you guys watch my channel a lot, you know that I don't really enjoy mystery in my stories. But I enjoyed this one, and I'm really excited to see what happens in the third book. I ended up giving this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Every Day by David Levithan. This book is about a person named A who wakes up in a different body every morning. Some days A is a petite girl and who loves music, and the next A is a football player boy. So A really has no idea who they're going to be when they wake up. And so one day A wakes up in the body of this young boy, I can't remember his name, and A meets the boy's girlfriend, Rhiannon, I believe that's how you say it, and A falls in love with her, and we just follow A through their story as A wakes up in a different body every day and is still in love with Rhiannon. And I really, really enjoyed this book. It really made me think about the little things and the things that I pass by every day that A did not have the luxury of doing that. Like the fact that I wake up every morning and I have the same mom and the same friends and all that kind of stuff, and it really just made me think a lot. It was not the best book that I have ever read. There were a few flaws that I could find, especially the insta-love. There was, to me, there was insta-love, but it was so good. Like the love was so addicting that I didn't really care, but I still wanted to note that it was there. So I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars, but it was really enjoyable. Then I read this Harlequin romance called A Merger by Marriage by Kat Shields, I think. I don't know how you would pronounce that. But when my mom was younger in Africa, all she was able to read was Harlequin romances. So we went to Walmart the other day and we saw a whole wall of Harlequin romances. She got so like reminiscent of her childhood. So we got 2 of them and I read this one. It's really just about this guy and this girl who marry each other so then they can keep the inheritance in like a certain business. And it was kind of boring. There was like a whole bunch of like sexy time, but like there was more business corporation time than sexy time, and it was not that fun. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars because I did enjoy it, but now my mom is hooked on reading and I'm very, very happy. Like she's always been a reader, but she's like now reading like 3 or 4 books like a week, so it's making me really happy. So yeah, A Merger by Marriage. And the final book I read in June is Played by Liz Fitzgerald. I'm so glad that I got to read this sooner because this book is so good. It is the sequel, like companion novel type sequel-ish thing to Hooked by Liz Fitzgerald, which was one of my like really, really favorite books last year. Fitzgerald just has a way with words that makes me love her characters and everything about them. I am so sad to say goodbye to these characters, but I'm really glad the way that this duology ended, and I cannot wait to see what is in store for Liz Fitzgerald because these books are awesome. That is it for my June wrap up, and we will go on to my July TBR. Currently I am reading Dreamland by Sarah Dessen. I am about 108 pages in, but that's about halfway because this is a short book. I'm really enjoying it because I think that this book has really good like storyline, but I've realized that I have a really hard time connecting to Sarah Dessen's writing in the books that I have read because she has a very like distanced way of writing, which really connects me to the main character because it like comes off as them doing that, but then it's really hard for me to get in touch with the story. So I guess I'll just have to see what happens with this book. I'm also reading Sold by Patricia McCormick right now, and I believe that I will actually finish this today because the way that it's written, it's kind of, I wouldn't know if I would call it verse, but it's written in like very like choppy type style, and like only some pages only have like a couple of words on them. So I think I've been flying through this book, and it's also really, really interesting. It's about a little girl who gets sold into prostitution by her family because they need money, and it's really, really interesting. I'm also reading There Will Come a Time by Carrie Across right now. I'm reading this with my best friend, and I am about right here. And this book is about a young boy who lost his twin in a car accident, and we're just following him as he finds a list of things that she wanted to do that year, of 5 things, and he and her best friend decide that they're going to do them. So yeah, I'm really liking this book a lot. And one thing about this book that is really different is that the main character is Filipino, and I don't think I have ever read a book in the main, like, where the main character was Asian, and I'm loving that because it's like person of color represent, and it's really interesting to see how things are different for him and like the little things that he's going through, and I just love it. It's really good. Right now I am also reading The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is another gift I got from my librarians at the library as a departing present, and before I started reading it, I had vowed that I would never ever read this book because it was in third person present tense, and I just do not have a good relationship with third person present tense. But then I started reading it, and I am very ashamed that I told myself that I was not going to read it because I am loving this book, like over the moon loving, and I don't even know what I was thinking. It's really good. It's good. Also plan on reading My Life After Now by Jessica Verdi. And this is one book that I've been wanting to read for a long time. And I've been wanting to read it for a long time because it has a controversial subject of a main character who either has or during the book gets HIV/AIDS. And I'm not sure if she just gets HIV or if she actually develops AIDS, but I'm so excited because that is something that I have never read about, and I am really excited to see how the author handles it. I'm also going to read the 3rd book in the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants series, Girl in Pants. And it's really going to be fun because this is the book where they are going the summer before college, and it's my summer before college, so I'm just so excited to see how their lives go. And the final book that I have with me that I am planning on reading in the month of July is Kissing Kate by Lauren Miracle. I got this book was featured in my very first book haul on this channel. So I've had this for like over a year, and I picked this one randomly with my TBR jar. So yeah, I'm really glad that I'm going to be reading this. Those are all the books that I have with me that I am planning on reading in July. I know that I will have to order more because I have the booktubeathon is coming up soon, and I cannot wait to get started on that. I'm really excited because I haven't done a readathon since the last booktubeathon, so I'm really excited to figure out what's going on with that and how that's going to go. And I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!